everyone, it's Sandra from Sandra Bianco Photography, and today I wanted to show you just a few quick ways that I would edit this image. The very first thing I want to do with this image is add some more light to her face. Like just right off the bat, I know that. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to levels, and I'm going to bring up my lights, my highlights, and bring up my midtones a bit, and then add just a teeny bit of contrast back. Then I'm going to hit Command I, and I'm going to paint this onto my subject. And I'm just going to take my flow at about in the 40% range. So that is just going to add some light back to my subject, because it's nice and backlit, but there's not a whole lot of light on her. So you can see there that made a huge difference. And the reason I like to do that, it just makes my retouching a little bit easier to see, especially when you're trying to get, you know, just a little bit of bags out from under her eyes and all of that. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is go into the portrait retouch, and I'm going into flawless blend. And the reason I like to do it this way, actually, let me delete this and show you really quick. If I just hit Command J and went into, just grab my clone stamp the way that it is, and let's say I'll just take my flow down into about the 30% range. If I start cloning, you're going to see it is going to, it's doing a pretty good job, but you can start seeing, I really kind of messed up right there, but you can start seeing that it can be a little bit destructive, and even with like these tiny hairs and all of that. So that's just an example. It's just a little bit more destructive going on just a straight layer. So what I like to do is go into my flawless blend, skin blend first. And the first thing I like to do is go into the flawless blend and then go into the clone. It makes your cloning a whole lot easier, and you'll see why. So I'm just going to go ahead and select my lasso tool, and I'm just going to go ahead and make a nice selection around her. I'm going to hit the Q. I'm going to go check my blurring. So I'm going to go filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. And that is feathering out pretty nice as is, 33.1. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it there. Then I'm going to hit Q, filter, and Gaussian blur. So you're going to see that's going to bring it in a bit there. I'm actually going to mask that off in a minute, and I'll show you how I do that, because that left a little bit too much shadow. I made my selection a little bit too big on that last one. The next thing I'm going to do is just go down around her forehead here, and you can see it doesn't matter where if I kind of screw up there, I can take it back around. So I'm just going to hit Q, filter, Gaussian blur, Q, filter, and Gaussian blur. And that's going to blend out her skin tone on her forehead. I'm going to do the same thing down here. And that's going to leave me a nice, clean, what it's doing is it's blending all of the tones and giving it a little bit of a different texture. So now I can go into my clone stamp tool, and you'll see it's just easier. It's easier to do it this way than the other way, and it's less destructive. So normally I would be taking out, you know, spending a lot of time taking out all of these hairs and making that nice and clean, but for this purpose, I'm just kind of showing you where I would take this image, so I'm not going to spend the time on there, but if I was to give this to the client, I would. Just because it's a little distracting right in there. And there's a lot of different hairs going on. I'd grab my pen and go in there and do that with that. So you could see there what that did. If I just go onto this flawless blend and create a layer mask and go and grab my black brush, I can take this bit of shadowing off that I put on her there. And it's not going to ruin the rest of what I did. See there? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and flatten that. So I'm going to go back to her skin in a little bit, but what I want to do is go into the Painterly 2 collection, and I want to show you on an image like this how I would, let me minimize this a little bit, how I would you can easily change this background to like a more springy lemony, which I love the green to lemon, so it's really easy. So see there, I just love that color contrast so much better than what it was originally. So I'm going to leave it on there. Now you just have to remember, if you have any kind of green in your skin or anything like that, it's going to affect all of those areas. So just be a little bit cautious of that. This one I can see it's bringing in a little bit of that lemony on her hair, but since her hair is blonde, that's not bothering me. It's actually just looking like it's the reflection there. And I'll show you a quick step later on how we can fix that also. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and collapse that. And then we can go into a couple of our artistic tones. And let's see. Let's go into maybe self-portrait. And that, I like what that does. It's giving it just a little bit more of a neutral pastel-y feel. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that down a bit. And I'm going to mask this off of my subject. For the most part. And you can see what that did there. And then we are going to go into our painterly textures. I'm going to run, let's see, I'll run Da Vinci to start. I might choose something else. Actually, let's try Kandinsky. See what that one does. And that's pretty. It's giving it a nice sort of a milky look. Take that one down. Let's try Da Vinci too. Da Vinci is my go-to on so many images. Yeah, and it's perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this down. And I'm going to mask this off of my subject. I'm going to go ahead and change my flow to about 30%. And I'm just going to go ahead and mask this off of her a bit. And I like what it's doing on the hair and on the clothing. So we'll leave that there. And I'm going to go ahead and flatten that. And then we are going to go down into, let's see, our Pick-A-Color Vignette. And I'm just going to go ahead and play that. And I'm going to go ahead and maybe just pick one of the colors in her shirt or in her dress and hit OK. And that's just going to add a little bit more of that color to my image, which I really like. So I'll take that down just a little bit and flatten that. So one of the other things I'd like to do is I'd like to maybe blend this little section out here. And there's a couple of ways I can do that. So I'm going to hit Command J. And I'm just going to go ahead and grab, you can use any of these tools really. You can grab your rectangle marquee, your lasso tool. I'm going to grab the rectangle marquee tool. And I'm just going to make a little selection here. Then I'm going to hit Command T. And I'm going to move this up into here. And I'm going to stretch it. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to grab a layer mask. I'm going to hit Command I. And I'm going to paint some of that on. And again, my flow is at about 30%, just to blend that out a little bit more. And now I don't want to see that line, so I just want to make sure that I'm covering that. And again, I can go back in here and do that same thing if I wanted to say blend maybe a little bit more of this and this together here. I could just go grab the selection here, Command T, move this up. Oh, you're going to have to, sorry, I messed that up. You have to make a layer first. Let's just deselect. So make a layer first, and then make your selection. Then Command T. And I can easily blend all of that out. I'm going to grab a layer mask, hit Command I. and grab my white brush and just start adding a little bit more of that in. Okay, and again, you want to just be careful of your line here. So I'm just going to go ahead and mask that back off. And you can see there. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is go and just work on, I like the image actually as it is right now. The only thing I'd want to do is just work on her skin tone a little bit more. So again, I would go back into, you could either go into, if you wanted to stay in paint early, there's some light actions in here for skin, but I prefer to go into the portrait retouch. So I'm just going to go into the skin tone palette here. And I might just choose honey. And I can take this up here and grab my white brush. And that's just gonna, I like to sometimes paint this on the dress too. So that's just gonna give it some added light and a little bit of that honey softness. And then I would take that down. And sometimes I just mask it off the eyes, not to change her eye color. So you can see there, that added some nice, pretty light and color. Then the next thing I would do is go into the Rosy Cheeks palette. And let's see, let's try Peachy Keen. I use Fever a lot, but this one will give it a nice, more bright peachy tone. So you can see there, and I may just mask a little bit off there where I went over. And then take that down a little bit. And then we are going to go into my Soft Glow Warm. And you can either tap this on or brush it on. I like to do a little bit of both when I'm doing it. It's going to give her skin a nice little glow. And we can take that down just a little bit. And then I'm going to go into my all over eye foundation. We're going to brighten up those whites. And I'll take that down a little bit. And then we're going to go into define the eyes. And then we're going to go into our Luscious Lips palette. And I'm just going to go ahead and select Angel. And I'm going to reduce my opacity. Just a really hint of color. I could take that up just a little bit. There we go. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do is go into Paint Me Pretty. And I'm going to take that on the tree as well. I'll take that down just a little bit. I'm going to go into Sharpen the Everything. And I'm painting that on her face just to really make that pop more. And then I would go into Dodge the Highlights, Burn the Shadows. So I'm going to go into Burn the Shadows first. I'm going to leave it at like 9%. It tells you to take it down to about 3%. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint that a little bit under the chin. Under the nose. And anywhere where I want to add a little bit more depth. And then I would take that down a little bit. I applied it strong just so you could see where I was going with it. And then you could also, you know, do the creases of her arms. This will really make her pop out more and give it that 3D look. Of course, I would be taking my time on this, trying to just make this short so you can get the gist of it. And I would even do like around the waistline, and you could even do like in between all of these little creases to give it more definition. So anywhere there's a natural shadow already, you could just go over those lines. And then I would go into my Dodge the Highlights. And I'm going to take that down a bit. And this is where you could just add some light. I like to go right into the corners of the eyes there. And then this is great to bring out like any sparkle or light on the dress as well. So you can see there that just gave her a lot more light on her face, and you can reduce the opacity. And one more thing you could play with. I like this image as is, but one more thing you could play with is some of these fine art finishes. Let's try Glamorous. And that gives it like that real 3D look, if that's what you like. And I would take that down. And something like that. And let me show you one more thing. So on this image, this color is not bothering me because I feel like it's such a pretty reflection off of this light that's coming up from here. But if it was bothering you, you could simply fix this by going Command J, going into your layers and going down to color and selecting, get your brush, selecting a color that you'd like. So just say like something like this over here, and then painting that on. I may take that down a bit. I was painting it on at 100%. So maybe something around there. Or you can change the opacity or flow of your brush too. But just say, if I wanted to change that, it's just a really easy way to get rid of like that color cast. And the same thing over here. If I just wanted to mellow that out a little bit, can easily do that there. So you can see there what that did. And it's just going to blend that out a bit more. And you could even do that like on skin. You know, if you were, just say you were shooting on a super sunny day and you didn't have the light quite right and there was just tons of reflection. Say you were shooting, again, something orange and then there was orange reflecting up on the skin. You can easily just take your skin tone that you like here and start painting it on. And that's all you'd have to do. And it's just a really quick fix to get rid of some of those nasty casts that, you know, are on our images every once in a while. So let me flatten this and show you the before and after. So this is where we started. That's the before and after. Before and after. And now it's just super springy, sunny, and light. I hope you enjoyed that. And look out for more videos. Visit greaterthangatsby.com to purchase any of these collections or just to skim through some more videos. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.